having some sort of discipline where you can push yourself past your limits is a good thing.
Absolutely.
But actually, in the Bhagavad Gita, and Oppenheimer studied that text for a long time. He learned Sanskrit and read it in Sanskrit.
Wow.
When he was at the University of Berkeley in California. You're a sensitive person.
Yes.
That's what it comes down to.
Disciplined stoners. What's your discipline? You a stoner? That's cool. So are we.
I'm high a lot. It's weird to finally say that with pride. I'm high a lot. Being high has helped me with my anxiety. It's helped my social skills.
Ellevan from Anger Town. This plant just helped me chill out. Found focus. Found confidence. All of a sudden I was productive. Less protective. More progressive. Yeah, we talk about stuff like I'm a next sommelier. But this is about a medicine, baby. We wish everyone a mindful life. It's been a helpful tool for us. And whatever the route to peace, it's each individual's journey. And the more we communicate, maybe we can all help each other out. Love and light. Welcome to Disciplined Stoners Podcast with your host Ellevan.
And my name is Winnie.
And we are the gateway drug to mindfulness.
And welcome back to another episode of Disciplined Stoners.
I'm your host, Ellevan.
My name is Winnie,
and we are the gateway drug to mindfulness. And today, oh my God, I have a gem. I have a secret. I have a special friend that I always get so much from talking with that I had to bring him to you guys. He's a collaborator of mine. If you fuck with my music, you've already fucked with his music.
I just had to let you know I think of you as my home. When I am away, I miss it all the time. When I sleep or when I wake, every night my soul I pray I can make another day. I'm coming over, 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 over.
I am a light beam. I am a type of a light beam. I am a light beam. Yeah, come get beside me. I live life on a screen. I'm building every dream. I think they're onto me. I am a type of a light beam. Get your energy to come frequent me. Energy or frequencies.
He's a beautiful singer and producer himself.
Multidisciplinary artist, author, video editor, recently got into, what is it, stop motion? Animotion?
He's getting into animation. But overall, he does many things. But this man's a philosopher, if I may say so myself.
Yeah.
And he may not want to take that, he's very humble, but he may not want to take that credit. But me, myself, I get so much as my budding philosopher from interfacing with him. I had to give that gift. So go ahead and get your joints up.
We all have coffees.
Cheers.
Or
Cappuccinos.
coffees, whatever you like, for my man Mitch.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. I love this cup also. Little Miss Sunshine.
I don't know if
you
this is appropriate to be part of the intro, but I really admire your guys' relationship. I think that there's like some deep communication that goes on between men specifically that I think you guys have hard conversations and you're vulnerable with one another. And I think that this relationship will only continue to flourish. And it's nice. It's nice to see you have a little bit of something on your tooth.
And he wouldn't judge me for that.
No, I know. Yeah.
Yeah, no, we've had
so I
good
really
conversations.
I appreciate your position in Ellevan's life. I think it's a healthy and nice thing to see.
No,
I guess.
I'm very grateful
So,
for the connection with both of you guys. It's
Thank you.
been very educational over the years and also inspiring, and collaborating on art and talking about art and all the stuff that we've discussed, over time. It's and both of us have changed so much over the years.
So much.
A lot. So yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy that it's taken this long to get you on the podcast, but also it right now in this moment feels very like divine. Like this is now meant to this conversation where maybe we're all just grown up enough to have like a vulnerable
Shine the highest
online
Yeah,
conversation.
Definitely growing up more and more for sure. Yeah.
So I mean, we'll get into 1,000 things, but one cool, beautiful space my heart always rests with you, bro. And it's kind of this philosophy that we're adapting to and we're just talking to is like, it's okay if it's not okay for a minute.
Right.
And
For sure.
so much of my even like persona and even sometimes my contribution to the show is pick it up, let's go, get positive, pucker up, stiffen up, keep on moving. But sometimes what we kick it, it's just okay that things just got shitty for a minute.
Yeah.
And that's so nice. So how did you arrive on this perspective? How much of this in your actual life are you implementing this in your day-to-day?
That's a great question.
And how did you learn it? So if someone wants to eventually arrive there, tip them off.
Great. So it's actually, I was on the way over here, I walked over here, and I was thinking actually about your whole persona and your personality and everything. And I was like, man, it's so great. People like you are so great to have around, positive and upbeat. And just trying, even if you're not necessarily in that energy in your personal life, you're always trying to bring that to the people who you're around. And that's super valuable. I think it's something that goes unnoticed so much because, it's taken for granted. Like, this person's just always like that.
Yeah. Good call.
Love, bro. Thank
but
you.
I really appreciate that vibe because
Thank
it takes
you.
a lot of extra effort and energy to bring that to the people who you're around. And it's like, whenever we have a conversation and we hang out, I always leave and I always feel good, because you've given me a little bit of that energy. Because I tend to be more on the other side of things.
We'll win too, though. I mean, that's the perfect balance. If there's two of me going, it's like two grenades going off. So it's nice to kind of balance each other out. You guys give me permission to feel for a minute. Yeah. And I'm already perpetually on such a cylinder that's trying to push that. Yeah. Because fuck life unless that. Yeah. For me. Yeah. Just like I can't, but thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Of course, man. Of course. Yeah, in terms of like, where I've come to, you mean just living life and looking at life or understanding reality? Or
yeah, understanding reality. Like, you're very well-read. You're probably one of the best well-read people I know. Like, as far as like, you don't want it with Mitch, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
if you're
like the education runs deep with you, bro.
I try to read. I like reading. What's interesting about reading? I only got into it real deep probably when I was 24.
Yes, me too.
Yeah, 24, 25.
Yes.
Like, I grew up with a lot of reading and books and education around, and but yeah, I only got deep into reading when I was about 24, 25. I read a couple books that just blew my friggin' mind.
Which ones?
I think the first one was the electric Kool-Aid acid test.
What is that?
That was the first book that I read and that book introduced me to Ken Kesey. And then I read One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Okay.
Nice.
And I was like, oh my God, this is incredible. Like, books are amazing. Yeah. Reading, I never knew how powerful fiction could be.
Yeah.
Me either. I got into fiction in my adult life too.
And just how many lessons were in there, how much it elaborated on just different philosophical aspects of life and meeting these characters and stuff. And then from there, it went on and on and on. But
it's hard to let go of character. I mean, this is a sidebar, but I always feel a little heartbroken at the end of the book. It's almost like a series finale where you're like, I don't get to know any more of your story.
And sometimes they never leave you.
Yeah.
Which is actually the most powerful thing from a book, because there's some books that I think about all the time. I'm always reminded of the energy that I was in when I was reading it. Yeah. Especially if it was a very powerful, had an impact on me in a personal way and that sort of thing.
I have that with songs.
Yeah. So in terms of that, that's sort of where I started with reading, was Electric Kool-Aid Acid Test. Then I got into more classical beat literature, like from the 50s and 60s. And then from there, I just kept going book after book and reading different various things and expanding from that.
What do you mean literature from 50s and 60s?
That's like the Ken Kesey, the
Science documents?
Allen Ginsberg,
Essays? Because you read
Jack Kerouac, all of those types.
Who are these people for people who don't know?
Jack Kerouac wrote On the Road, and then Kesey wrote One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Sometimes a Great Notion was like one of the biggest books for me was that one. And then, you read those books and then they all have little nuggets inside of them where you're like, wow, if this person's talking about that, maybe I should go look into that. And that's how I sort of went from there. And then I started with spirituality when I was very young.
Okay. What do you mean with spirituality when you were in it? Like practices
just
or reading
looking
about
into it, reading about it,
Okay.
being introduced to certain spiritual figures.
Like young?
Young, like as young as I can remember. Probably
Because
some
of
of my first,
parents or because
5
of
years
your own
old?
choice?
Like 5?
Probably a bit of both.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like that stuff was around, and so that was, if it's not around, you're probably not gonna look into it that young.
Yeah, and that's why I was like, huh?
Yes. Yeah, and then it was just my own sort of interest in just always what is really going on, what is life, and then you experience a couple deaths, and then that drove me further down into the spiritual path, and all of this happened before I was 24, 25. So the spiritual stuff was ongoing from when I was young, and so then I went through that whole period of reading, and then I came back to more spirituality in like kind of a more serious seeking way.
Yeah. Because you needed it. So you were exploring it, and then you needed it.
I was exploring it. Then I was very, very desperate for answers of trying to figure out, why am I here? What is going on? Really, like when you experience death like in that way.
What do you mean? What death?
Like the death of a parent or a close one or something like that.
This happened to you?
Yeah, a couple times. So when you have those experiences that are pretty much, they're unavoidable and you can't look away from them, and it changes your whole world.
Yeah.
So for me, I went down. I was, started reading about near-death experiences and all, and I, brought all of that back in a really real way, because up until that point, when I went to university, you sort of get lost in the material world, and all of this stuff is going on in your career, and how do I make money, and I got to get this part-time job, and I got to be cool, and what am I wearing, and people are going out to this club, and oh man, I'm gonna get drunk, and you're in school, and all that stuff is going on. You get lost in all of that.
Yeah.
And I stopped reading about spirituality, and I sort of forgot all of that because I just got lost in the material world and caught up with a bunch of stuff that ultimately, was good experiences, and probably contributes to the whole path anyway in its own way. Obviously we could get into that. And then, really I land here and now I landed on some stuff that we were actually just talking about before we started recording, which is, some of this like Eastern philosophy, Bhagavad Gita, non-dual philosophy, all of that sort of stuff, and some other things that I've sort of just like thought about on my own as well.
Yeah. Beautiful. Okay, so that's amazing. I want to get back into like you finding yourself and digging in, but run us back to your childhood a little bit more, if you don't mind. These influences, that is such a privilege. I didn't have the privilege of having those materials around. And I love my parents. My dad's a party, and my mom is how I get my charming energy. But like
totally,
your
mom is great.
Huge.
Thank you, bless. But it's just like in terms of substance. There were like my family didn't really prioritize it. It was in the moment, fun, new fees, Italian, better, move. But so I had to find that later, and that was so hard actually to focus. So like your parents, if you don't mind, talk a little bit about like where they are, what they do, what where you come from in that respect, because I think that's an important kind of identity.
For sure. Yes, I mean some of the stuff that I was introduced to when I was young. My dad was sort of an intellectual guy, but he never went to school or anything, but he was very, very intellectual. He worked in like broadcasting and stuff.
Cool.
And my mom was super...
He's a journalist, right?
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah, he was a broadcaster, yeah.
So your dad's brain as you're growing up as a young kid.
Wow.
There's some of that in there.
But you got to see him. Like, did you ever watch him research or anything like that? Or were you around when he was...
Not so much. I mean, maybe I absorbed some stuff through osmosis or something, but, he was always doing his own thing, very very, very into his work. And then
So he did that over there.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
He didn't bring it home.
No,
Okay.
not so much. I mean, like I said, maybe through osmosis.
Right.
But other than that,
Like Eminem's daughter can probably rap pretty good, but
Sure.
he still went to the studio
Yeah,
to record.
exactly. Yeah. So there's that. I was exposed to those environments. My mom was always interested in spirituality.
Yeah.
So there was these books around and stuff. Like one of my earliest influences, I remember being Thich Nhat Hanh because she was really
wow.
interested in him. And to me, he's like one of the realists out there.
I don't even know this.
You would.
I
would?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you saw him.
He's passed away now.
He's a Buddhist, right?
He was a Buddhist monk. Yeah.
Yeah, Buddhist monk.
Yeah, he was really, really.
And what were his
influential
philosophies? So
You've seen his quotes.
I have.
I'm
Okay.
sure.
They're
Yeah.
probably on my wall or something. I don't
Yeah,
know.
they
I don't
might-
even
they
fucking
might be.
double check on my quotes
I might
around.
even be mispronouncing his name. I don't know, but
Okay,
I
but
don't
cool. Okay, so
Yeah.
you had this sort of your pops was very in his endeavors in the way he handled things, perhaps more pragmatic, logistic, researched, and then mom was very heart driven with the spirituality at home.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you
for
had
sure.
a nice balance to
Yeah.
observe. That's
Yeah.
incredible. So you're already coming from a fiber of like whether it was purposely nurtured into you
Mm-hmm.
or not. It's already like my kid's gonna be able to cook real nice. I'm just gonna say it. Like
Yeah.
it's happening.
Well, what if he not necessarily?
No, but your lack of cooking won't take over me cooking.
That's true.
Like you not cooking garlic won't
Yeah.
make the place not smell like
Yeah.
garlic when I've put
Yes.
garlic and
So
butter.
there's
in it.
not osmosis through my not knowing.
No, consciousness wins based on doing, I think, not lack of doing.
All right.
The lack
I
of
accept.
doing would only be lack of doing if said thing wasn't done, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Right?
Sure.
That one is still absorbing into my system.
Well,
The-
if there's a lack of doing, it's something not being done. Like, no one right now could say there's not weed here because there is weed here. So lack can't exist if it's being fulfilled.
Thank you for
Yes.
that.
True.
I don't know.
Great
A very
analogy.
simple.
That's pretty much an irrefutable fact.
Dude, we found a basic truth. Okay,
sir.
so so you had these life-altering moments, and then you went to university.
Went to university, did all that shit.
What did you do in university?
Film and TV, basically.
Film and
Yeah,
TV.
minor in English.
Okay.
Oh yeah, we met first.
We
Oh
did.
yeah, talk
Yeah.
about
Mitch
that.
and I
That's
met
fun.
first.
We met. We met doing like some music video with one of my friends from school, I think.
Or
Is it a
short
music
film.
video? I thought it was a short.
I don't remember exactly, actually.
Oh.
It was so long ago.
Yeah, it was.
I
We
think
were-
it was
we
a
were-
short where they were walking across the bridge.
We were filming something. Oh,
Yeah.
you did a voiceover also for some.
So we knew each other
Couple-
first,
Couple things.
Yeah.
which
couple
is
things.
so
When
interesting.
he was building her career in Toronto in
But-
front of the
but
cam, and you were
very,
building it behind
like,
the cam.
Not friendship. Very like, oh hey,
Passing.
what's going
just
on?
in passing.
Yeah.
Total just.
which I find so interesting.
Yeah, just in passing,
It's
it's
hard
like
to penetrate
when
this.
you come at all this stuff from like a spiritual perspective. I mean, I love that you guys talk about this stuff, on this vibe, on this level. It's so cool.
Thanks, bro.
It's really great. It's really great. I love what you guys are doing, by the way.
It's just when you look at
Yeah.
the map of your life, I find that fascinating. Ellevan and I did during COVID. We need to update it now, but we went back to the beginning of our relationship and talked about every year, sort of the big
Okay.
things that happened,
That's
and we
cool.
wrote them down.
Yeah.
And it was so interesting to see how this thing unfolded to this
Led to
thing
that.
and
Yeah.
led to that,
Yeah.
and
And
you're
if
like,
I didn't do
holy
this,
shit.
that seemed like a distraction. I wouldn't have been qualified to fulfill this role that led back to my initial goal later.
It's all so man. I just like in the last couple of years I've really been thinking about what the hell am I doing and who
This is where I was at just
who
today.
am I like actually in a very serious way, like who actually am I for
Yes.
real,
Yes.
not just like in this incarnation and like what I'm doing here in the physical material world, because you get caught up in that all the time in terms of like your identity, you identify with that, and then maybe you're blessed with like a few brief seconds where you can think about it from a more zoomed out perspective. Because obviously you guys are thinking about reincarnation and stuff and past lives and all of that. And
I know I'm at a good run right now. I'm balancing Dharma from other things, and this is like one trip through, and I'll come back again. And your spirit and your soul is definitely eternal, and I can feel uploading data to consciousness when I sleep. You know, like it's like, of course, like I'm going like boom, bum back, but it doesn't take the levity off this life for me all the time.
Well, no,
sometimes.
it doesn't, and there's reasons for that, I think. But I just a thought just came to me about, there was one book that I read that sort of was like a thing that just totally put me into a different. I was like, wow, it changed my world, because. You know, you read this spiritual stuff and you listen to it, and it's like very easy to get caught up in it and be like, yeah, this is all real. That thing and that thing, and I'm okay. Oh my God, yeah. Wow, we're infinite spiritual beings, and it's like, and then I always take it. I'm like, what the fuck?
That's the face I hope came.
It's like the Tony Robbins of spirit.
No, I'm just like, what in the fuck are we fucking talking about? Past lives and what the fuck?
Thank you, bro.
I'm just like, what the fuck are we talking?
And it doesn't matter for right now.
We like
in
know,
the present moment.
It's like you go through this thing where you're like, yeah, this is what's happening. This is reality. And it's like, hold the fuck up. Like, I don't know
what that
shit.
is? Can I
actually
answer
don't
that
know
question?
anything.
Can I answer that question? Because that's why we're friends. Like, I ask the same fucking questions. You know when you're a kid, right? And you're in kindergarten, and maybe your parents came to see you at the little bullshit sports day.
Okay.
Right? Or something, or some sort
Track
of competition.
and field or something?
Sure, track and field. Or you think you're competing maybe for winning, or it was a play. You know, and as you're doing said thing, and it gets too much, maybe you're not in first in the race, and you look to the side and you look for your parents for that, like, acceptance. That's what that is.
Yeah.
When we're like, we're interested in taking the pressure off of the race by like remembering what this is.
My dad did not give me that look when I was losing in the 400 meter.
Oh God.
He wasn't encouraging you?
No, he was like, that person is throwing up. They are running so hard. You like work harder. And I was just like, I've always been, it's not a competition gal.
Maybe
I've
that's
always
why.
that mentality.
So
that
analogy fell short for you.
Yeah,
No, that's good.
it
It's
did.
not, well, I mean, yeah.
And
That's why I started laughing.
No, it's just so messed up because it is a competition, but it's actually not. Like 100%, it's not. That ruins us.
Yeah,
but the book that I was talking about
you got what I'm
was,
saying, though, right?
Yes, I
like
100%.
checking in with,
Totally.
Yeah.
this isn't real.
I've gotten that
yeah,
from
yeah.
them during plays before, so same thing.
I know. Yeah, that's a good
dance comps.
analogy.
Fuck
for
you,
sure.
Jim.
No, good job.
I'm just kidding.
There's something
it
there
lit
though,
something
right?
in
Like
me.
there is something to like,
I love you, Jim.
that person's throwing up, run faster or something. Obviously that may have been damaging to you, but it's also something for you to think about and work on and introspect on. But there's also some positive aspect to that as well. If you just look at it completely neutral, like, having some sort of discipline where you can push yourself past your limits is a good thing.
Absolutely.
And that's, a material world thing, but it can also apply to spirituality as well in some sense. But that book that I read was called The Case Against Reality.
Oh, nice.
And it's an unbelievable book.
Ooh, I just got spine chills.
It's an incredible book. It's written by this guy, Donald Hoffman, who I actually spoke with. Like, after I read the book, I was just like, I got to talk to this guy. And I was like, oh, maybe I'll like interview him or something. And I just like had a phone call with him. He was like driving to something. I was going to fly and talk to him, but then I got a bad vibe. So I was like, I'm not flying. And then actually the pandemic happened like 2 weeks later.
Oh shit.
But so
See, there's one of those things.
Yeah, I just talked to him on the phone, but basically he's this super hardcore scientist, like next level, like Albert Einstein type shit. His whole university education was paid for by an aircraft company because they wanted him to come back and run their AI department. Like, this is like in the 70s.
Holy shit.
He was like writing machine code for the Hugh Aerospace company or the aircraft. I don't know exactly what it's called, but Hughes air, something.
That's what he
And,
spends his time doing.
So, but he actually didn't go back and work for that company because he wanted to pursue his own
That's
research,
awesome.
Thanks for the school, bitch.
which essentially culminated, I guess, in this book that he released that's called The Case Against Reality. And they're still working on this stuff, but it comes from a scientific perspective and basically says all the stuff that, you know, spiritual traditions have been saying for thousands of years, which is that the material world is actually not real.
It's energy, because when you go down to the very closest atom and zoom in,
Well, it's actually not
98%
even energy. It's actually not even energy.
But what we label...
That's actually, all of that actually is just a metaphor. There actually is no atom.
Sure, exactly. So it's all
So
just
are we plugged
quantum
in
field.
like Matrix style?
Well,
So it's
no,
quantum field.
No.
No, it's that was
Who knows? I don't know any of this shit, but
Yeah.
I'm saying,
But divine
according to
substance.
according to that book, basically what he's saying is, and all of his research, and
We just start shipping away. But
it's-
tell us, Mitch.
it's all like he's coming from a mathematical perspective, and and he's got a whole bunch of, I mean, you'd have to read the book to really, I can't sum it up, but
Next
it's,
on Disciplined Stoners, who will be
I'm
reading
gonna
this
read
book.
that book.
yeah, it's a good read, and it's an easy read. It's made for like the
Nice. I love when
general
scientists
population.
do that.
Yeah, it's-
Thank
Oh,
you
I
when you
love
do
that.
that, scientists.
Yeah,
Thank you.
It was worked. You could, when you read it, you're like, wow, they worked really hard to make this super
Accessible.
particular and explicit, but also somewhat easy to read. But basically, yeah, it's essentially what it's saying is that consciousness is fundamental. Because if you talk to any scientist, they'll pretty much say that, and this is the linchpin of spirituality, pretty much. If the hypothesis of consciousness being fundamental is right, all of the spirituality is true.
Yes.
But if consciousness is made in the brain, the chances of any of this shit being real pretty much go down to absolute zero.
There are scientists that now have reason to believe that consciousness is made in the brain. Yes, is that?
No. What we, as a spiritualist, what we want for our, if any of our philosophy is to be taken seriously, consciousness has to be fundamental. It has physical reality has to be emergent from consciousness, which is what The Case Against Reality
Plants
posits.
grow.
Yeah.
I'm there with you.
Yeah, they
I'm
don't
always
have
just-
eyes.
I'm
Like,
just
that's
always-
so stupid to
Yeah.
think this is a chemical hallucinogen. But that's,
Yeah.
hey, that's sometimes people, and that's
Wait.
okay. That's what's
No,
beautiful
most scientists would tell you, any scientist would most likely tell you that consciousness is an epiphenomena of the brain once neural complexity reaches sufficient volume or whatever. Once there's sufficient activity between neurons,
Yeah.
consciousness emerges.
Can I ask you something?
That's what they would say.
Can I ask you something kind of random?
For sure.
Do you believe in evolution?
That is I mean, like, honestly, that is a very difficult question. Yeah, I do for sure believe in evolution. Yes, but it's not, it's like someone, I guess, would say, yeah, I believe in evolution, so all religion is bullshit and the Bible is crap and all that stuff is not to be taken seriously. I would not say that at all.
No.
Do you believe in the part that we evolved from monkeys or primates?
I don't know that. Well, I don't know that. I don't know enough about evolution to actually make a good comment on that.
Do you mean Darwinism? Like, are you saying if he's
evolution is real? Evolution is absolutely.
It makes sense that
yeah.
evolution is real.
No,
I guess-
evolution has to be real. Like, even if you take consciousness as fundamental, evolution has to be real, because if you look at it as a rule set, that the physical reality has to run under a rule set. For whatever reason, you know, we're probably not going to ever understand this shit fully, but reality has to run under a rule set. Things have to come into being for whatever reason that we don't understand. Evolution is a fundamental part of that.
Right.
Because that's just how this reality works.
It moves.
That's just what
It
it is. You
changes.
need evolution.
But
But as far as how it actually all went down, and is evolution actually proof? Does evolution refute religion? No, I don't think so
Well,
at all.
Yeah.
I don't think.
I
at
don't
all.
think
I don't
so
think so
either.
at all.
Yeah.
Can
And
I-
I also think it's not. I won't say that, but I also think that it's a little bit. It's a little bit, maybe a little bit naive to think that because in like the Bible, for example, or you could talk about the Quran or any other religious scripture, that like because in the Bible there's things talked about the Garden of Eden and those were the first two humans. To take that literally, I think is a little bit, almost a little bit silly.
Yeah, it's silly.
So
And everything was depicted in a different way depending on like the geographical region where those artists were, like in terms of like skin color and things like that. I think I found the most wisdom.
Well, it's all metaphorical.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I found the most wisdom on evolution in terms of Darwinism, like I think you're referencing it, like monkeys who found mushrooms and became humans and less hairy. I want to address that. The best wisdom I've gotten on this was from a meme. And it was, if monkeys evolved to humans, well, then bitch, do it again then. They haven't changed since.
No,
a
that's
tiger's
what I
been
don't
a tiger,
understand. Why aren't they
ape's
still
been an
evolving?
ape, a duck's been a duck.
Well, they are still evolving. They are.
Yeah.
It takes millions of years, though.
Millions of years. So, but like, then if you look at the
Or
theory...
hundreds of thousands.
So check this out.
So over
if
the
you're
course
on
of
that
time,
timeline,
monkeys...
we're grays.
I don't know. All I know is that you're not really gonna see this shit happen in your lifetime. Like,
No, that makes sense.
Yeah, you have nothing to worry about, basically. Yeah.
I just don't.
So you
Yeah,
don't
I
figure it
guess.
out.
Yeah, so some stayed.
Well, what's
some
interesting
stayed
is actually
non-evolved and others didn't.
Don't-
No, but
Don
how
Ho-
can we say they're non-evolved? I think a
Yeah.
monkey is perfect the way it is.
I know, that's why.
We're alien half-breeds. Let's be honest. Anunnaki?
well,
Any of that?
what Don
Anunnaki?
Hoffman actually uses, so evolution, and I don't know the actual scientific details or the math of any of this.
We
but,
mine gold.
he used evolution to basically prove his theory. So the Darwinism exists as a mathematical model.
Right.
And so Don used evolutionary game theory to run these simulations, which proves that, which from his studies and simulations proves that reality is an illusion. And he's using evolution to do that because essentially what he says is that
What's the basic
we
equation?
evolved not to see truth. Not to see
Right,
truth,
right.
Because we literally can't perceive it, and it does us absolutely no good in this reality.
I agree.
And so he uses evolution to basically
agree.
say we evolved to perceive fitness points, which is essentially, okay, I can recognize that this is coffee and I drink it because it's going to do whatever for me or whatever.
Or it's tasty.
But we did not evolve to see truth. In his simulations,
agree.
the probability that we evolved to see truth is basically zero.
So what do we do with this information? If we're here, talking about how this is all made up and it's an illusion.
We realize that this is the gift. We land right here and say, wow, holy
We just play?
shit.
Is
Yes.
that the answer?
I think if you understand it from the perspective, I think exactly where we're sitting is, you know what it is, but I'm down to play. And-
Ellevan, can I go over to Mitch's house and play?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's a good, I like that perspective. Yeah, I like that perspective.
It seems to serve us the best because to your point where you just said, like from that guy saying it gives us no benefit to know absolute truth.
Yeah.
It's like, just carry on. Go to the store. Get some Cheetos. Go
Yeah.
have sex. Go smell some
Yeah.
flowers. Go touch some things. Go get a massage. Like,
That's
live
a
your
lot.
fucking life.
That's also just a lot to
Yeah.
live because sometimes things feel so serious.
Well, there is
Yeah,
a.
what's with that?
I have had some different thoughts on that stuff over the last little while in terms of like, oh, it's just a game. Go and do whatever the fuck you want and blah blah blah. I don't know exactly how I think about that anymore. I do think that I don't know. Like, I've
think
read
it
some
doesn't
stuff that's
serve
been
us?
very, 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 very convincing to me that there's a meaningful reason for potentially looking at that perspective differently. I
Okay,
guess is
please
how I
tell
could
us about that.
say. It's
Does it have to do with purpose? Is it because
in some sense, yeah.
I get
yeah.
I get lost between I feel so grateful and appreciative and know that I'm privileged to live the life that I live. Like
Right.
I sometimes I feel so in love with my life that I could burst out of my body. And then there's other times where not much has perceivably changed in terms of what's happening materialistically or anything. Maybe sometimes finances feel a little bit tighter or something like that. But
Which
not,
that stuff can be brutal.
it can be, but that burst of love that I feel and in
Yeah.
love with my life is gone. Like, so I feel these two like ends of it, and sometimes when I'm in it and I think, wow, I am so lucky to be able to pursue my art and like work as an artist, like get paid as an artist, all of that. And then other times I'm like, I should have higher goals for myself. I should figure out a way to feel more stable within the reality of this 3D thing that we're
Yeah.
living. So I find it a
makes
little.
sense. I think what I would say to that is, and by the way, like, I just have to make a caveat that, like, I don't necessarily practice anything that I preach.
Yeah. Thank you for that honesty.
I
Thank
think that you probably are on the way
I try.
to it.
I will say that I try desperately. I try very desperately to do my best, but
I can tell you one thing you do have is acceptance. And
I try.
You've lended that to me in moments when I felt about
I'm grateful
things.
for that.
Thank you. Yeah, and you're sitting in acceptance is a rare thing, super rare, and like that's beautiful.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, whatever journey you've taken to get there. Yeah, because that's like, God, just give yourself a moment to breathe, and because my neck's so tight all the
fear
time.
is it gets so tight. That's a good word.
I sort of
for
look
it.
at it as like, what you're saying there. You know, I'm trying to heal the stuff that I've been given in this life to work with and heal for whatever reason. I'm trying to figure out what am I supposed to be doing, you know, for the system. Like, you could look at it as okay, it comes down to this. Honestly, you have to sacrifice everything.
Yes.
You have to give up everything.
Yes.
You have to give up every desire. That is what is required. And eventually, everyone will have to come to that realization. That's what I believe at this point.
Yep.
And once you realize that, I think, okay, now try that for 1,000,000 years. And then
Because that's
good
true
luck.
non-attachment, right?
It's the only way, I think. And a lot of people are well, it's difficult because when you start looking at life from that perspective, it's like, what is a blessing? Actually, what is that? Is getting $1 million a blessing? Is it actually? Or is that going to set you further back on the goal that actually matters? Like,
that's such a tricky question. I don't know. I don't know.
That's incredible. Well, it's like that theory, right? Like when the son broke his leg and then the war, and he's like, oh, this, and it's like, could be. It's an old
okay. Yeah,
you know that one?
Is it something?
The farmer and his horse runs away or something, and then
I think
the
I've
son
heard that.
is on the horse and breaks his leg.
Might have actually been you that told me that.
because
Yeah.
his son
Story.
has to go to war. Then
Yeah.
the horse kicks him and he breaks his leg, and he doesn't have to go to war.
Yeah,
but then
but
a
the way-
fire happens and the horses go. But then the rain comes.
Okay,
all
the
of
story,
this
but
comes back. Everything seems to work out.
Yeah, the anchor is
Pretty much.
the man keeps saying like
That's
could be
amazing.
where they're like, oh, like basically you won $1 million to your story, Nine. It's like, you won $1 million, congratulations, and he's like,
Maybe.
maybe like
maybe.
like could be
Maybe.
congrats, could be
So it's,
crazy,
yeah.
could be
And
a cocaine addiction.
Yeah.
Like
So as much as we can live in that sort of center place where it's tricky because you don't know what's going to happen.
It is
That's
very,
one of the trickiest things,
100%.
not wanting
I like that,
something,
though. I
and that's
like
where the
that.
non-attachment comes, wanting something, and then having to be like, oh, I'll be okay 100% if I never achieve that. That's like not.
That's also an attachment, though.
No, I
Yeah.
know. That's
The-
please,
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
Yeah. Well, even it's-
Attaching yourself to non-attachment, essentially.
having no attachment, I think at this point, my view on it is essentially nothing is mine. I have no right to anything. Ultimately, I have no right to anything here because it all is God's, basically.
I love that so much. You have no
I don't love
fucking
that.
no. You okay? The divine substance.
It's
listen,
actually horrible.
no.
But listen,
Let me break through in a positive way.
At first, what is poison eventually becomes nectar.
Oh, bars. Okay, here's the nectar from it then. Non-ownership needs, because to your point, you don't own it. It's God's. It passes through. Divine substance manifests your thoughts to you through focus. It's this nice little quantum trick that my mentalism, I thought it was spiritualism, but it's actually my mentalism. Mindfulness has proved time and time again. And it's people think it's a law of attraction. That's one of the many vibrational hermetic laws. One of them is the law of rhythm. One is the law of there's a law of gender. There's a lot of polarity. These are like simple, basic, beautiful harnesses of energy. So it's nice to come back around to
That's just my perspective at this point. And I was talking to my friend about it the other day, and I was like, you know what? say you believe in God, for example, okay, like that, and God could be a bajillion different things. We could get into that, but say you believe in God. A lot, you might think, okay, that's going to make life way easier and a lot better. I actually think that if you start believing in God, or it's not even that you start believing in it. It's like you come to the inevitable conclusion that this may be the way reality is. That's one possibility. And to me, it's starting to seem like that's sort of an inescapable truth in some way. But it makes everything like a lot harder, I think, actually.
Well, I think it's that idea. So
It's passing through. It's just energy. You're passing through as an energy being. It's all energy.
But when you go, I think it's here's what I think is when you go through challenges, this is really cool what you're doing.
Yeah, I like it.
I'm making a nice little salad.
You're putting.
I love watching you just like.
Yeah, you're chopping up.
Doing the.
I'm chefing.
Yeah, it's
Is
great.
that keef or
It's
what
really
are we
nice.
hash?
Shout out Dustin the Bond Kid gave us some of this beautiful, almost moon rock keef. I think it's pure
Wow,
keef, but
that's
it's like
gorgeous.
wow.
It's just nice watching you like tinker around.
Yeah.
Okay, so say if so I believe in the universe. Like if I were to put my belief system in something, I believe in an all-encompassing that I can't properly articulate, but I know has a purpose in my physical 3D life. So other people believe in God, whatever it is, whatever your faith is, when you go through challenges in life, you got to give it up to. So that's what I've seen through religion. Like I give it up to Jesus or, other religions.
But then you still take the good stuff though.
Ooh.
Yeah, so you're.
But you can't do that.
No. Give praise. Praise to the high.
So-
Praise Krishna, bro.
So what do you mean?
It's like it's very easy to say when you're in a bad thing, okay, God's gonna take this from me and ease my pain, or I have to go through this for God or for the system, for the collective consciousness, in order for the natural system of consciousness to continue evolving, however you want to look at it. But if you follow that logic, you also have to give up all of the good things in the same exact way, because when you give up something bad, you don't want it.
Yeah.
But when you get something that's perceivably good, you want it.
Yeah.
And
Grateful.
you say, thanks God for giving this to me, or thanks universe for giving this to me. I'm blessed to have this. Well,
Would the caveat be, if I lose this, that's good too?
Not necessarily that it's good or bad, I think.
Yeah.
And I'm just talking about the philosophy that I'm not talking about how I live my life.
I think she's
Yeah.
talking
Just
about
to be clear.
relinquishing control to this higher thing that has this kind of rollout plan for you, like you're in a wave. Like you can't fight the current of the wave once you're in it. So it's like when you're in moments of, whether it be praise the Most High, or I'm in a tough moment, I give up my guilt and worry to you. Like through that sort of relinquishing control, it almost takes away your dominion from your ego. And like there's value in that spirituality. Because hands are in the wheel, human, I made this happen. This is me.
Right.
Where it's like, there's a lot more at play here, bro. You're a branch on a larger tree.
Is that sort of what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Then I feel that. I thought you were more so saying...
Because I heard how you heard it, too.
Yeah,
I heard how he heard it,
Which
too.
I think is a very, because when you add in all the good stuff, too, that's when it starts to get a little bit harder.
Because it's very religious, so she kind of resents.
I've always, I've been...
I don't.
No, that's fine.
I
don't think there's any...
I'm just not religious. I don't resonate with it.
And just, you're not coming from the place of... like some Latin lady, like, Jesus, take from me my sins. Like, you're not like coming from there.
That's fine. That's fine
too.
I think I am a little bit coming from there.
I love those Latin ladies.
I just think that when it's an excuse to allow yourself to stop suffering.
Okay.
So if we give it up to,
Nice.
if we're going through a challenging moment, and we can, one of two options, we can grind it into the ground and we can make ourselves sick and we can focus on it so much without giving us any opportunity to see a solution. And we've all done that. Anytime Ellevan and I have even been in a serious fight, by the end of the fight, we start saying things that do not make sense. We run it into the ground
harsh.
until we're broken and can take a breath and be like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. So that's one pathway. Or you can give yourself the opportunity to understand the situation, not ignore it. We're not putting on rose-colored glasses, but like understand a situation, acknowledge that it exists, and then give it up so you don't have to sit in a vibration that is lower than ease or peace.
And furthermore, you're actually sitting in the disappointment of yourself.
Yeah. Right.
Because you're like, oh, I couldn't keep it up and it's my fault. But if you give it up for a minute and you just like almost like that
and
little
that takes
check-in.
a lot of responsibility.
Yes,
like yesterday,
for sure.
I
sometimes it's pretty scary too.
It is. It is. And just as an example, we can talk about yesterday. I lashed out and immediately regretted it. Yeah. But it created a sequence, a spiral of lashing out. And so like in that moment, I didn't give it up. I chose to drive it deeper.
It's hard, eh?
It is harder.
Because
I wanted to defend myself. I thought I was
so
defending
hard.
myself.
It is so hard.
But it was coming from such a place of lack and insecurity.
Yeah.
Just that doesn't have anything to do with Ellevan. It's all me.
Yeah.
So if I could have taken a breath and given that up in myself, I think that's when God plays a cool role.
What are you, why, just out of curiosity, like, why do you think, like, I don't know what was happening or before or whatever, and things have to be contextual, but like, just in that moment, like, I'm just so curious, like, what do you think it was that made you, like, I'd flip out or whatever? I can't remember the exact word you used. Lash out, yeah.
I felt like I wasn't doing enough in our relationship.
So you got mad.
So I got mad. Yeah. Essentially, yeah.
You got mad at him for something
that
wasn't related to that?
I decided to tell him that he wasn't doing enough.
Okay.
Or I reminded him that I was doing enough in ways that I know would hurt his feelings. Right. Yeah.
Right. That's like pretty actually like sort of beautiful. Straight up. Like, it really is, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, you know,
because it hurt.
Where do you think that comes from?
It hurt.
Dude.
Yeah, it hurt.
It's been a pain body with us for a long time, and we actually talked about it this morning that we, you know, even though we both reacted, we, instead of getting into a huge blowout, we like held ourselves. We had to step away from one another and hold ourselves and like found what was actually going on so we could come back and be like, that really didn't feel good. And I could be like, I know that was my bad. Like, holy shit. And you could be like, oh, wow, thanks for taking responsibility.
Do you think
that
it's like connected to your childhood or something?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just curious because like I've been thinking about
1000%.
this stuff so much, and it's like, do I have to fucking literally figure out every single thing, or am I going to be able to eventually just like transcend all of it? Or
no, you have to figure them all out.
Yeah. That's one good approach.
But this was huge progress, though.
Yeah.
Like the pain bodies still flared up, and we gave into. I believe that's not truthful. That's not a truthful part of me. That seems like a part of me that is filled with shame and guilt. And I just want to tell that part. Like this morning in my meditation, I was like, hey, like we're okay. Like
that's so interesting that you're using that language, a part of yourself.
Yeah.
Have you ever read about IFS?
No.
Because that's all that language. It's just so I find it so fascinating that we all use this language very naturally.
Yeah.
This part of myself was doing this, and you're just talking to that part of yourself and saying like, you don't have to be this way, or it's okay. Or, you know, you're comforting some part of yourself, which might be from your childhood or something.
You looked at that yet? Okay.
But basically, anyway, long story short, internal family systems is just like a psychoanalysis sort of like model that like it's basically all about parts of ourselves.
Yeah.
And it gives you a framework to be able to like talk to yourself in this completely different way that's so natural. It's actually kind of trippy that it's only like this dude like sort of formulated the whole process in the 80s or something, and now it's a very, very popular therapeutic system.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I've told this a million times, but my first transformative moment in like from my depressive states was being like, okay, you're allowed here. Like, I'm not going to push you down anymore. Come out, talk to me. What's going on? Like, I accept you for what you are.
Well,
please.
The one book is called No Bad Parts.
The book, the book that I have in my head that I've started writing and keep procrastinating is Loving the Worst Parts of You.
So it's really interesting. Like, I just want to share this with you because I think it's cool. In the book, they talk about, or he talks about how essentially the way he sort of frames it is that you have this. He calls it an exile. That something happened to this very young part of you, and it's like you could imagine it almost as like a psychic literal part of your metaphysical body or whatever you want to say, but and then you have a part that sort of comes in front to protect that exile, and
older sibling.
And in order to talk to that exile, you have to talk to that protector part, because the protector part might think you're still like 9 years old or something. Actually, you. And so it jumps forward to sort of protect that part of you, because it literally thinks you're 9 years old. And then the system of therapy is basically talking to that part to get it to relax, learn about that part, ask it how old it thinks you are, ask it why it thinks it needs to protect this other part of you. And then you can eventually get past that to talk to the exile that it's protecting. And the things can be, it can be quite extraordinary. Like, you can do a session in it and literally stuff comes up that you have never, ever once as an adult consciously thought about. It's a super trip.
Yeah.
As you explain that, I just allowed that to happen in my chest, then in my brain, and one new part of my brain literally just lit up. As I just got an emotional idea about why I'm so defensive in social situations. Wow.
Who's your security guard?
Beautiful. Yeah.
Go talk to the security guard, folks.
It jumps in with programming that either pushes people away or defends you somehow, or dominates or submits itself.
Could be anything. And it's so, man, we're all just trying so hard. And it's like, and I'm sure you guys have both figured this, it's like, as you go through all this stuff, we really have no right, anybody, to say anything about anyone.
I know. That's where I've landed.
And I try so it's very, 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 very difficult to do.
So hard.
It's so incredibly hard. That's so hard.
That's the clip for this episode. That's incredible.
It's so, and it seems like a simple concept, actually.
The simplest stuff is usually the most mind-fucking shit. Like, I just wanted to go back to your whole thing about religion, actually, because I'm curious why. Because I had years where I was like an atheist, and I was like super, and I still am, like, inspired by a lot of those guys like Richard Dawkins and like Christopher Hitchens and
science-based
they're like hardcore like atheist dudes who like went up and like had debates with people that are really fantastic conversations. But
I bet
what's
that's
your
very
deal
stimulating.
with like religion? Like, I'm just curious why you don't like it, not from you, like on a personal level, what your thoughts are on it in general.
Oh, I think I didn't grow up religious, and a couple things happened. I didn't grow up religious. I had at a young age, I had a best friend who did grow up religious, so I started getting into the church at a young age.
Are you talking Christianity?
Christianity. Okay. Then I went to this fucking camp because all my church friends were going to camp. So I asked to go to camp, and it was fucking crazy. I never told my parents, but like the priests would come in to our bedrooms at nighttime and be like, fucking there's a demon or some shit. Like some crazy shit happened. And it was like tongues and stuff where they were like, people, like young girls were passing out, like it was fucking crazy, dude. It was fucking crazy, and I never told anyone, and I just went on living my life. But I was like, that was fucked. In grade 4, how old are you in grade 4? Like 10?
Like 8.
8?
Yeah, even younger,
it was
maybe.
Nuts.
That's insane.
Like I'm not very good with memories, and part of me is like, have I completely made this up? Like but that's the experience
Probably
that I
not
remember.
Totally.
Yeah. So anyways, that happened, and then I got my very first like kind of serious boyfriend was a churchgoer, and he basically said like he would break up with me if I didn't go to church with him. And I kind of hit back with like, cool, I'm going to go to your church, but I'm also going to go to every other fucking religion and then see what's right for me.
That's like the most reasonable thing ever. Though.
Totally. I know. I thought like
and anybody who's really religious
I didn't
should
actually
completely accept that.
Yeah, I didn't actually do it. I just clapped back with it.
That's also fair.
And then I had a bad taste in my mouth for religion, but now
She got like
honestly,
small town white Christian.
But
like,
now, like, I believe
not the
in
Christian you'd want to put on the menu.
Not. Yeah.
But like, I think that now I have a deeper understanding that like, I think I believe in what other people believe in. We're just talking about it differently.
Sure, of course, and that's that's cool. It's nice to hear that story and understand where you're coming from. I actually have a funny story about church as well, like small town white church.
Please.
My first time I ever went to church, I don't know if it was my first time ever going, but I was like 9 or 10 years old or something like that. And I thought that it would be really appropriate to take a Ouija board into church.
Yes!
Because I thought it just made sense, you know, like if this thing is real, you're gonna go in there. If you're gonna do an Ouija board anywhere, it should be in church, right? Because it's the amplifier to God.
Yeah.
And so I took it in there during Mass, and I had it in my winter coat, and I took it in. And I was doing it all the way at the back in the pews at the very back top of the church.
Did you just quickly, did you know that it could be maybe not accepted in
I
church?
had no idea.
Okay, cool.
I had no idea whatsoever.
Okay. You were at the back of church.
I was at the back of church, and the minister came and threw me out of the church for bringing the devil into church. And
holy shit.
He was like, get out of here, basically.
Were you by yourself?
No, my mom was there. And I was with we were there with some family.
Did the minister tell you all to get out? Or just you?
Yeah, I'm sure my mom came with me. I don't actually remember that. I'm sure that she came outside with me. I actually don't remember, but he kicked me out. And I actually just thought...
See, that's not church-like to me.
No, it's not, of course. But so, yeah, I mean, it's...
That's where it's like I get a little bit... I think I've stepped away. Like, if I were to go back into church now, I think it wouldn't be a good idea because I would witness things that I don't correlate with church.
Yeah. So my issue now is basically with the religion and stuff because I looked into all religions, well, a lot of religions, mostly the Abrahamic ones and some of the Eastern stuff like, from India and stuff like that. China has some interesting stuff as well, like the Tao and all that. But a lot of the times I just feel like you guys aren't really coming from the perspective that is really in all of these books.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly.
That's sort of where I'm at with
it's like it feels, it's just like if you're gonna do it, like follow it. Like,
do you guys know what it
follow
is?
it fully if you're gonna follow it. Like, don't just like kind of do it half-assed.
You know what it is? You know what it is?
What?
Millennial and mindfulness. You know, they're like, oh yes, you know, or just like you're saying, religious people, because that's why I left the church too. Fucking verified Roman Catholic over here. What do they call it when you do the thing? I did the whole fucking thing. And
communion.
Communion, all that shit.
Yeah.
I could take communion now because I'm what is it, verified or affirmed
something
or something
like that.
I did it, and I can't remember. I met some nice people in that group, but when we would go on Sunday, I worked at a bus, like fine dining restaurant, as a busboy at the time, pocket full of posy. You know, you're part of the community. You're giving in cash, having coffee, and then people still just click up and talk shit about each other. I'm like, what the fuck? This is just like an industry room. Like, get out of here. And so it's like it wasn't them doing the behavior of the habits they were saying are their mantras, and that's what I'm saying. It's millennials and mindfulness, because it's like, fuck yeah, let's go to this thing on Sunday morning, and it's like $80, and I'm gonna drink Friday night, and like they're not. It doesn't align, or like they'll share a meme, and I'll be like, oh, you like Abraham Hicks too? And they're like, who's Abraham Hicks? And I'm like, you don't even know who's saying these quotes you're sharing, and I'm not judging. I'm just saying that's life. That's just humans.
I was like, gonna say,
I'm this. I'm a Buddhist, so I do this when it suits me.
And also though, and so
fuck you and fuck you
okay,
and fuck
but,
me and fuck you and fuck you
exactly.
and fuck this.
But that's what we're
saying
saying though, is that like everyone is on their own timeline. Maybe someone starts with a quote that they don't know who it comes from, but over the course of time, they find that person. Like, we cannot.
Look, I'm saying, I'm someone who just said anyone. In this episode, I probably have that guy's quote up somewhere. I'm talking about myself too.
I know.
And how I get into it, but it's like I'm just to the point of religion. It was almost me defending religion a bit. Like, at least they're pledging an idea.
I actually like religion.
At least they're pledging an idea.
I like it.
Right?
I'm for it. I'm pro-religion.
Me too, actually, sometimes.
I am.
Don't war over it. Don't war over it.
I wouldn't say I'm pro.
Don't war over it.
I actually am.
But I dig that it exists.
I'm pro-religion. I just think that...
don't war over it, though. No? Would you agree with that sentiment?
Don't war over it.
Please don't war over it. That's dumb.
I'm together with that, for sure.
That's dumb.
That doesn't make much sense at all.
I don't want anything to do with any clique that's like, we gotta fucking go kill other people.
Much better to just... like get together and chit chat, have like an interfaith, conversation, and not pretend. I just think like we shouldn't pretend that we 100% know anything, because
or we will ever agree. We should not
silliness.
pretend that we're ever gonna agree.
Yeah, like if two people from different religions who are like really devout to those religions have an interfaith conversation, I feel like they're kind of both coming at it from like, I will have this pleasant conversation with you, but I am right, and I'm ultimately trying to inform you of the reality.
I've done that with mindfulness, and I cringe at it now. So that's exactly. So how do we?
Which is fine, by the way. I'm not trying to say anything wrong about anyone. I'm just sort of trying to make an observation that like, I do think at the very least it's a good perspective to be like, maybe I can actually learn something from this religion.
There could be a gem. There
are. I think it's actually a real tragedy to say all of religion is garbage, and to not look into any of the texts. Agreed. Because like, man, there's gold to be. Yeah, there's this phrase, right, where you extract the gold.
There you go. Why do you always gotta look at the shit that doesn't serve you? Look at the shit that serves you. Take what you will from it.
You bracket those things. Like people will say, well, religion treats women badly. I'm like, 100%. I completely think that is all
weird.
Absolute, beyond weird. It's like, I reject all of that stuff.
It's not intelligent to not utilize the divine.
It's an anachronism too, because it comes from a different time. It's a culture.
Right. It doesn't suit this time period anymore at all.
Yeah. You just take the ultimate truth, you extract the gold, you learn from what's there.
Yeah.
Some of these people are incredible, man. Like there's examples from Islamic history of people of one of the biggest philosophers from Islamic history said that men and women were totally equal, and that women should be able to be in office. This is like 1,000 years ago, okay?
Amazing.
In friggin' Arabia.
I fuck with that.
So the idea,
I think in Egypt there wasn't it
not a patriarchy, but a
matriarchy.
It was a matriarchy,
and
they worship
a hot minute too.
Yeah.
That's probably just as bad as a patriarchy. Like that's
any
the thing
archy.
that I don't. You know what I mean?
Any archy.
It's
agree.
like, what about the
no extremes feel good for our existence?
Collaboration.
Yeah.
Right. You got a meaningful. That's when you can only get to a meaningful place. I feel like when you collaborate.
Exactly.
Which was actually sort of my main beef with the Barbie movie. I don't know if you guys saw
talk about it. No, we haven't seen it.
We've just got the political updates or whatever. We didn't go. We just look like Barbie.
I don't see that movie in theaters. No offense, but I don't see. That's not a movie I see in theaters.
To see it in theaters.
I saw it in theaters. I also saw Oppenheimer.
Nice.
You went to that opening weekend of Fire.
I did not go to the opening weekend.
Oh, you didn't.
But Oppenheimer was absolutely amazing.
Oh yeah,
absolutely incredible film. Just from a film perspective, incredible.
Yeah.
And the philosophy in both of those films is like super impactful as well.
That's a cool thing to say.
No, it is, because I mean, obviously you got in Oppenheimer is famous for quoting the Bhagavad Gita.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, the most famous thing that he's ever said is a quote from the Bhagavad Gita.
Shit.
Which is he said when he's thinking about the testing of the atomic bomb. Oh, I don't know the exact moment, but he says, "I have become death, destroyer of worlds." That's a line from the Bhagavad Gita when Krishna reveals his cosmic form, and in the text he's actually referring to. Because he's also time, and time destroys everything.
Oh my God! What do you mean time destroys everything?
time destroys everything.
can't
We'll all die.
Yeah.
Everyone you love will die. The world will die. Everything will be eviscerated by time, and time is also a manifestation of God's inconceivable potency. But so he's referring. That's what the quote actually means from the text.
Yes.
But Oppenheimer quotes it, and I think what a lot of people's perception of that quote is that he was saying that he has become death, destroyer of worlds, because he invented the atomic bomb. Oh my God. But actually, in the Bhagavad Gita, and Oppenheimer studied that text for a long time. He learned Sanskrit and read it in Sanskrit.
Wow.
When he was at the University of Berkeley in California, that was one of the things that he loved doing most while he was there, was learning Sanskrit from this other professor there and reading the Bhagavad Gita while he was learning it. And it was, I think he said that it was the most influential text on his life. But so taking all of that into consideration and thinking about that quote that he says when in relationship to the atomic bomb testing or whatever, in the text, Arjuna, when Krishna says that line, and Oppenheimer says Vishnu, but that I'm sure that's a translation thing because Krishna is also Vishnu in that theology. But Arjuna is crying and he's on the floor he's on the ground in front of Krishna, and Krishna manifests his cosmic form, and Arjuna is absolutely terrified, crying, begging Krishna to go back into his regular form so that he can no longer be terrified. And I think when Oppenheimer's quoting that line, he's actually quoting it knowing all of that context. And so actually in the situation, he's actually Arjuna, and he's actually witnessing the power of what's outside of him. It's not, I don't think that he was saying that he has become death, destroyer of worlds. I think that he's actually cowering at the feet of God.
Yeah, that's how I hear it in that context of that screenplay from a story writer perspective. That's like, it's like you're like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
Almost, instead of like, you're like, oh. Like, what's gonna happen?
It's like
now?
Next level, like when you know.
It
the
could
context.
be that $1 million. It could be that song that pops, and then it's like, oh, your whole life falls apart or something. And then you're like,
It's the depth of that though, like knowing who Oppenheimer was, like he was one of the first guys who started talking about quantum physics and stuff. I'm pretty sure. Wow. So like knowing who he was and knowing how much he revered the Bhagavad Gita and that he quoted at that moment. The depth of that is actually extremely powerful. I think it's like overlooked a lot in that actual story.
As most gems are.
Yeah, but the movie was incredible. Both of those movies were incredible. You guys should watch them both. Yeah. You guys would love Barbie.
I think so.
Well, because it's all about the matriarchy, patriarchy. I thought it was really good from both sides. I heard a lot of people saying that you're slamming men and all this stuff. I did think that in the end they'd missed an opportunity, considering how popular this one of the most popular movies basically of all time.
I can't believe it.
It broke every record, I think, for
I can't believe it.
Fucking cool.
Over $1 billion in the box office, which I think is the last movie to do that was probably Avatar or some shit. Yeah. But it's I thought they missed an opportunity to talk about that collaboration thing. Yeah. Where it's like, actually, let's come together, men and women, and really do this for real, where we're equal. But they sort of, which is, I get it.
They went with the women winning.
Sort of. More, they leaned that direction, which is cool. I thought that was, it was a great movie. I think
that we're almost living.
The pendulum is the swing back.
Exactly.
Yeah, right, exactly.
We're on the descent now.
This is
almost the pinnacle of
even
we need to go so far so we feel safe enough to think that the other side has finally got it. They get that we're serious and we're not going to be treated poorly anymore, and we're working our asses off to make sure so we're over here. We had to go over here always, right?
Yeah.
We have to feel at a place where we're like, okay, it's unfortunate that I want the rehabilitation aspect to come sooner after the bad dog.
Shaming.
Yeah. I think that still is fine. I think that we're allowed. Sure. We should do that. If someone does something that crosses some boundaries, you should be like, no. And then ideally that person understands, and this person can be like, cool, I'm not gonna, you have no effect on me anymore. You're not gonna ruin my day. You can go learn some shit and be better.
Yeah.
You know, let's all
Right.
try just being better.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes you need that
But right now
contrast.
we're still in like go to jail, go to the doghouse, and
Right.
stay there and think about what you've
Yeah,
done.
yeah.
We're not really welcoming back
It was
quite yet.
good though, man. They got some nuanced shit in there for sure.
Yeah,
it was,
I'm so
it was
glad.
Fire. It was
You know
fire.
what? I love the cast. I think it's all so cool. I just want to watch it on my
Oh
TV
my
at
God.
home.
Ironically though,
Same.
Ryan Reynolds was 100% the absolute shining star of that
Ryan
movie.
Gosling.
Sorry, Ryan Gosling.
I was gonna say he wasn't
Yeah.
even in it. And he's
shouldn't
always-
even-
Which is
I don't know
cool
even really,
because he
yeah.
hasn't done a lot of comedy.
Unbelievably good.
Yeah.
Is he so funny?
It's just next level acting. It's just
Yeah.
like the best shit you've ever seen. Like it's literally, his performance is next. You'll love it, man.
Yeah.
Like just for what he's doing in that.
So they kind
it's
of
amazing.
In
It's
terms
amazing.
in terms of the movie itself, then I would say that shows that the actors were collaborating.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, I actually thought it was kind of funny because after watching it, it was just like, man, he was the best part of that movie.
I love that.
Hands down.
The men even win in the Barbie movie.
Literally, it was kind of funny. It was actually kind of funny. Like he has this whole
So good.
song and shit in it that's just like amazing. It's amazing.
I love that.
Yeah, it's,
He is good. He's
very, very
What
funny.
a fun
Very
fun
funny.
movie to do as a
And Margot
creative.
Robbie, I mean, come on.
The comedy in that on his behalf is just like top notch.
Really
shit. Yeah.
good. I'd love to see more
Yeah.
comedy.
There's
Yeah.
a lot of comedic actors in it.
I
It
love
looks
like
good.
contextual comedic acting where it's not
Yes.
it's not a stupid punchline or something or like a funny moment. It's just like you are being hilarious. Like everything you're doing is just like amazing and funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I find John C. Reilly like
like
that.
me too.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
every
I'm
time I
that's
watch
it.
him,
Yeah.
even in serious stuff, I started watching some of his more serious stuff, and I'm like, "You're fucking, I love you. I
He's
love
probably like,
watching
"Damn
you."
it.
Yeah, it's
I'm trying to do some serious
Some
shit
com-
here.
yeah.
Yeah, no, totally.
Fuck, man.
That's.
We ever go places?
I know how are. I know. Fuck. Where are we doing? How we at?
We're at 108. It's pretty good. I mean, we
pretty good.
keep cruising,
Yeah.
but geez,
No, that's
holy, that was so beautiful.
That's
Do you
some good
see
moments
what
for
I'm
you.
saying?
Yeah. Like
Do you fucking
what?
see
What,
what I'm
what did we
saying?
even talk
What a
about?
gift.
I don't even
we talked
know. I
about
forget.
everything.
I literally forgot.
Bro.
No, we talked. Yeah.
No, that was
Um,
cool. I liked when you were sharing your personal stuff about
Thanks.
it was just nice
Religion.
to have that conversation because that stuff is it's so difficult, man. It's such a maze. It's such a
It's so
crazy,
funny.
Yeah.
And then when you're outside of it looking back in, like everything is so emotionally charged
Yeah.
all the time. So like I'm not mad at myself for lashing out. I'm like, damn,
I'm sure you are a little bit.
I'm a little disappointed, I think.
Yeah.
You know, when your mom is like, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed. Like
That's
kind
good
of how
though.
I feel.
That's probably a good place to be because that also is such a
responsibility.
hard thing.
Yeah,
you know,
that's
you're like, I
responsibility.
fucking suck, or
Yeah.
you know, that's tough.
Yeah.
That's tough. And then you're
I
in
go
this-
there
I don't
too
go.
quick.
I don't go
I
there
go there
too
too
much
quick.
I know
anymore.
that's because we're very emotional, man. Like,
Yeah.
we're very, very emotional. Like, emotional, and you know, we're afflicted with this thing that a lot of, I guess, like artists. You know, I don't like. It's hard to use that word, but like, you know, you're a sensitive person.
Yes.
That's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah,
And
but
you guys have been told for so long that like don't emote.
Yeah. Thank
That
you
was
for
your
s-
whole shit,
Yeah.
right? Growing up, like just don't stop doing. I mean, maybe not your
That's
shit.
culture.
But
That's
Yeah, just the
that's
culture in general,
which is a
men shouldn't-
100% lie, by the way.
Yeah, it's
Obviously.
bullshit, yeah.
Anybody who says that like women are more emotional than men is
y'all have cycles. We are synced up.
that's craziness. That is absolute and total craziness.
Yeah,
I can't
it
believe
is.
how anybody can say that with a straight face. Actually, it's kind of incredible.
Yeah, it is. It's
you
silly.
know, women are so emotional. Like as if men aren't what?
Men are
I
so
don't even-
emotional.
I've never understood that.
Women also though still there's intense moments that I've seen where women are like don't be so emotional. Like I've done it with you even in public. I'm like just stop. You know, like stop. I don't want to. You know, and
Yeah,
we're still learning how to
Yeah.
communicate in that regard.
I mean, we're
you know?
emotional beings.
I
Like
know.
we're
Yeah.
dealing with all of this stuff. We've got hundreds of thousands of years on our friggin' shoulders, you know, from everything that's gone on. Like we have all of that inside of us, you know.
I love that so much.
Right?
It's
I
so
mean,
fucking true.
sometimes you just stop and you think, you're like, what in the fuck is actually going on?
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck? Like,
Yeah.
literally, I mean, it's crazy what's going on, man. Life is the most insane thing.
And okay, since you come from that perspective and you know that, I know, isn't it
I mean,
beautiful?
it's just crazy.
You're so beautiful.
It's
man.
just insane.
That's cute.
Oh,
He's
wow.
so comfortable.
Sorry.
Okay, but
He's
dude,
cute.
I gotta say,
Cute boy.
because of your knowing and because of your
Holy.
holding that perspective, we have been able to have some of the most honest conversations and interactions.
Yeah.
Like with you, I've had some of the most truthful conversations.
That's what we started with.
Like over conversation. And thank you for saying that. And that's true. And I think that is even a newer space for men, for
Yeah.
bros
Yeah.
to like explore.
100%.
Because women have been sharing like everything for like a long time. And like we'll just like strip
and
the
because
shit.
you don't like because of that, you're always just
Yeah.
like, well, fuck you then, relationship over.
And it gets cold.
It's
but
so
we'll
interesting,
just-
man. I actually have
We've
been
talked through a lot. And as you
We
mentioned in the
have.
beginning,
We absolutely have.
you when we first met, I'd say you were more in line with the divine feminine, and now I think on everyday living you're more in the way you influence me. You're more in line with the divine masculine.
Yeah.
Not that you've lost the balance from either side,
Right.
but we all live either slightly here or slightly there,
For
right?
sure. I've definitely
And that
been.
changes.
I've definitely been leaning on that side,
Which
of,
is
you know,
beautiful.
with
You've
the
started
physic-
working out
working
more
out and-
in your body,
Yeah.
and our clear communication, and even just sharing the way that like either my behavior or words make you feel in an
Yeah.
honest way.
Yeah.
I appreciate that so much. That is
Yeah.
such a rare skill.
Well, man, our communication has always been very. I think because we know where we're both coming from on some, not even an intellectual level, but on like more of a visceral spiritual level that maybe can't even really truly be expressed. You know,
Yes, true.
It's there's a lot of forgiveness there too. I think, which is really important.
Yeah, I appreciate that. We make a lot of space for being human.
Yeah, and just, you know, it's like, yeah, the forgiveness I think is sort of a process, you know, rather than a verbal acknowledgement. It's just like this processing thing that's going on.
Yeah, that's interesting. Can you dive a little more deep into that?
I gotta say, it's like because I do think it's actually willing to have. It's a good
Yeah.
combo to have because
Yeah.
it is a special thing that we have that I don't have with many people.
It's very difficult, man, because, you know, things fall off in life and people will, you know, accuse you of doing something or get mad at you and leave your life. And okay, then you have to accept that. And that's fine. And maybe you have your own opinions on that. It's like, well, you know, fuck you too. And then you're like,
Feelings get hurt.
I don't want to come from
Yeah.
that perspective and yada, yada, yada. And you know the whole drill, man.
Yeah.
It's like that's the whole thing. But I did want to actually make a point about the men-women thing because I'm interested to get your guys' opinion on this.
Yeah.
The whole thing where it's like, okay, women are sharing their feelings and everything and men aren't. I don't know. I don't know that. I don't know that to be the case. It's possible
That's good.
that when a lot of women get, I don't know because I'm not a woman, so I'm not in those spaces. I don't even know about the male spaces, and I'm a man, so I don't know what the fuck that means. But people always say that, oh, you're not a man, so you can't. You're not this. You're not. Well, how the fuck are we supposed to talk about anything then?
Yeah.
But from my perspective on life, it's like, I don't know. Women are also human fucking beings. We're all goddamn humans at the end of the day.
It's so hard to talk
That's
about.
what I'm sort of trying to say is like, I'm like, okay, well, how honest and authentic are any of us really getting? You're hanging out with people, you're talking shit, you're gossiping, you're talking shit about this guy, and men, women, gossiping, whatever. That's not a gender term. I'm just saying gossiping. Men
Yeah.
do that too. Everyone, literally every single
Yeah.
person I've ever talked to in my life has done
It's
gossiping.
like it's a natural.
You're
know.
talking shit about someone. You're talking about a movie. You're talking about this. You're talking about that.
Yeah.
How really, like, are you kidding me? You think that when women get together, they're having these like hardcore therapy sessions that are relieving all of their pain
Well,
from
we
all
we
of
see
life?
that on
True.
Real Housewives.
I just
So
don't. I
true.
personally don't believe that is actually true.
I agree.
I think
it's all
that-
virtue signaling.
I think that a lot of people, whether you're man, woman, whatever the hell, you're leaving a group of friends, you're walking away with shit that you don't express that is painful for you.
I think I would say as a woman, it's probably easier. I've had harder conversations with women than with man friends.
But do you get down to processing the stuff that really matters?
Processing the stuff that really matters in terms of why I was triggered in the first place, or
I just mean in terms of healing your wounds from life at all.
I liked when you said there was an underlying process that just happens sort of over time.
Right.
I think that's a time, like time does exist, and I think it would be nice to shorten the gap between forgiveness and healing.
Yeah.
And I think probably it takes until that healing is processed to be able to actually truly forgive.
Right.
Like I've said maybe
Right.
that like I let it go, let's move on type thing. But in my heart, I'm still like working on how it made me feel and what's going on there. So there is a processing time always. But I think that like it would be easier for women. I've just seen women be like, hey, like that really, that what happened
Right.
there, I didn't like, can you clarify that? Like it almost happens more in the moment in with women where it's like, this is what I'm hearing, is this what you're saying? Whereas with men, I think there's more
Okay, in the
assumption
moment,
of
that's cool.
intention.
Yeah,
That's
like,
cool.
no, because
Okay,
he's like this,
interesting.
and then that's his
interesting.
position. So then, like, fuck him, because I know what he
I think
thinks.
sometimes what
Okay,
goes
that's
on
an
with men,
interesting-
I think there's misunderstandings, and the egos of men sometimes won't inquire.
Like, I have 4
if
right now.
they're
like,
actually
I can,
being misunderstood.
That's a
or
very-
not.
that's an
I
interesting
don't,
point.
I don't
Yeah.
plan on doing any fixing of these situations that I'm thinking of in my head.
But I don't.
They're men.
But what
I
you
just
said
don't care.
doesn't necessarily indicate that those two people conversing are necessarily planning on doing any fixing either. All you're saying is that point of clarification is happening.
Yes.
But
Which I think,
Yeah.
that's what I mean, which I think happens less with men. So the point
Yeah.
of clarification will provide an opportunity
Okay.
to say, oh, I don't like that. Let's talk about that. Let's take some time
Right.
from one another. Whereas sometimes men don't even give themselves that opportunity
Okay.
because
Yeah.
they've decided already based on a lot, like right, like based on their own triggers, based on so much, based on their armor, their security guard,
but see, everything that you're saying just indicates to me that you're talking about a person, not a gender, though.
that's
You are
Because-
stuck in the
Fair.
patriarchy a bit.
Because
by
what,
Yeah.
gender
what you're
labeling.
saying is that men have ego, but women have ego too,
yeah. I guess
and it can be very destructive. But no matter who the
100%.
I'm observing our own bias from the patriarchy actually by our own like preliminary programming.
I've noticed.
But I do agree with
It's
what
an
you're saying
assumption.
about that. That is an interesting point about the communication thing. This specifically in the moment thing that you were talking about.
Yeah.
That's interesting, and that But my point too is that it's like it comes down to culture. That's cultural.
Yeah.
That's cultural. But it also just feels like, because I've had those interactions with guys. I've had to with I mean you're one of my close friends. We've had those interactions.
Yeah.
And one of my other closest friends, we have those interactions too. Now maybe I'm just the type of person that's having those interactions, but the bottom line is still men talking.
1000%.
So
I do.
it's just tough to break it down in terms of men, women is all I'm saying. It gets
Yeah.
really, it's like, okay, it's tough because you could find situations on both sides where
You know
where
why?
it's-
I know.
I agree.
Where,
Yeah.
I'll agree.
where-
I'll get on board with that.
Where he's
Yeah.
coming from is so correct because you can feel it. You
Yeah.
can feel it in your chest
Yeah.
because
I have no
when-
fighting points.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
that-
There's
And it's actually I should say that it's my friend who put me on to thinking about all of this.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
friend Paul, who we've been having these conversations about men and women stuff, and he's just sort of been like changing my
because you know what?
perspective.
It perpetuates it.
Yeah.
So the problem here in us trying to understand and categorize and say that there's certain gender traits, by the power of vibration in our thought, we continue to perpetuate that behavior by that assumption.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are no gender traits. There's
Yeah.
cultural influences.
And there's perception. And then your perception affects the outcome. So if you're going to go talk to a woman and you're thinking they're more real and you offer more real energy, then you'll have a breakthrough conversation. But
Great
if
point.
I prepare myself
Yeah.
to be more masculine with this male, I'd never have the loving conversations that we have that are vulnerable and we take
Yeah.
responsibility and
Great
for
point.
our perception and
You're
our
saying that
behavior.
it's the way you're
The way you
approaching
perceive
a
it.
situation.
And so that's
And
where I
showing
observe
up. Yep.
as much as
Totally.
you know, we're trying to be forward thinking, but it's a little bit stuck in the patriarchy itself. And I personally find
Yeah.
myself, I thought I was on the left. Apparently I'm a fucking dick. And I'm like, oh my
We
God.
got-
Like, I'll try
I love
and
how
be
you
good.
always go Italian when you.
I'm just like, come on.
I
I'm
love
fucking,
that.
when you
no, but
when you
No,
talk
man,
about your
straight
dick
up though.
size.
Like, I remember
Like-
us having this conversation
Yeah.
about sort of we were both in this place where you have to be very careful what you say around this stuff. But like we were both. I'll just say this: we were both like in this particular place viewpoint, and then we were both like, "What the fuck is going on with that?" viewpoint, and it may or may not have been in a certain area on the left in a certain cultural sort of dynamic.
Yes.
And we were both sort of like I'm gonna move away from that.
if you don't allow me to be a holistic thinker in the clarity of my highest truths, which should not impede on anyone else or me demanding behavior or control from anyone else around me, but if my association around me or community is trying to limit my expression of my thought and feeling, that's not good news.
Yeah.
That seems like I'm getting caked into some sort of Kool-Aid, and I'm like, whoa. So I'm like, excuse me. I don't care if this is the hand that
Little
feeds
bit of
me,
Kool-Aid.
dog. Yeah. You know, this is from a motherfucker who's turned on his own parents too. So don't expect any compassion from me.
What's
Like,
funny about the Kool-Aid thing
love,
is there's
love,
actually
only love,
a true
but-
flip side to that, because
Yeah.
I just actually thought
Community
of this.
serves too.
Yeah,
Those people
yeah,
may
yeah.
live longer because they feel like they belong and they're all together for a purpose
Yeah.
and right on.
Or they
Get
might
your
all
flags,
kill each other.
Which is because the
Yeah.
snake eats its own tail.
Well, 'cause the
raise them up, cancel them.
Yeah,
Raise
exactly.
them up,
Yeah.
cancel them.
And the Kool-Aid thing, it's a good metaphor for that, because you know where that comes from, right?
No.
It comes from the Jonestown massacre, where they all killed themselves using Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
But interestingly enough, it's also from the electric Kool-Aid acid test, in which they put acid into the drink that's there, and they all get their minds blown on acid, and they open their minds.
I love
Did
that.
they
So
know that
come
acid was
together.
in the drink?
Yeah, it was. It was
Okay,
called.
that's
It
good.
was a famous thing back in the day. It was called, and it was run by the Warlocks, which are the Grateful Dead, and the Ken Kesey, and it was called the acid tests.
Cool.
Yeah, but that's just such a trip that it's like the Kool-Aid is both.
Yeah. I know. Well, and everything is.
It's this mind thing. Everything is. Yeah, that's where we started.
Yeah.
That's where
Yeah.
we started with the non-dual thing. That's so beautiful.
Yeah. This was so good.
That was fire.
This feels
This is
good.
a
My heart
blessing.
feels big, and my mind has
fine.
been changed. Thank
Yeah,
you.
and I'm so
Yes.
glad for both of you guys to just have your influence in my life. You know, in whatever form that is, and that we've just been able to like share time.
Yeah, man.
It's so
Yeah.
fucking dope.
It's always revitalizing when we dive in.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Feels
yeah.
good.
So this was basically
cool. This
us-
is such a cool combo.
Us sharing our excuse to hang out and documenting it with you guys.
I think people will really enjoy this.
Yeah.
If you enjoyed this, comment below. Say, I enjoyed this.
And if you want to find Mitch, where can people find you? Or do you want people to find you? Or when is your book going to drop? Or do you want to tell us about that?
What do you
You
want to
could,
say?
you could, I guess, like email me or something. You could email me. I try to be these days low key about most of the stuff online. There
Do
are
you want
some
us
projects.
to put your email in the
You
description?
could, I'll give you an email that you could put in there.
Okay, cool.
And then you could buy my book also on it's a kid's book. It's for kids.
Nice.
It's like a fantasy adventure thing. It's all like, it's supposed to be like, you know, whatever. It is what it is. My first book, you know, and I tried to do something with it. It's for kids, like maybe grade 6 to 8 or something like that.
I love that.
But an adult could read it too. It's called Revernota. It's on Amazon and all of that stuff.
We'll link that below as well.
What's it called?
It's called Revernota.
And how do you spell that?
Revernota.
What does that
Revernota.
mean?
It means dream note.
Dream note.
Yeah.
And what is a dream note?
It's a word I made up.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. So if you search that on Amazon, there will only be one result.
Nice.
And the book was published. I didn't actually self-publish it. It was published by like a local publisher here in Ontario. So that's on there. So you could check that out. That would be the main thing I want to push.
Excellent. Go
And,
get that. Go
Congrats
get that
on
book.
Yeah,
that. I
yeah.
didn't know about that book, so we're going
Yeah,
to get that book.
congratulations.
Yeah. Thanks, man. Yeah,
amazing.
thank you both.
Go get that book. Subscribe to our channel. Smash that subscribe button.
Share this with a friend.
And smash that. Yeah, and share this shit, man. Oh my gosh.
Fucking
And
love you guys.
we'll
Be
see you
kind.
next week.
Discipline, stoners!
I love that. I love that for us.
Blessings. Wow.
I love that tag.
Disciplined stoners. What's your discipline? You a stoner? That's cool. So are we.
I'm high a lot. It's weird to finally say that with pride. I'm high a lot. Being high has helped me with my anxiety. It's helped my social skills. Well, it's helped me feel okay about my shitty social skills. It doesn't make my social skills better, but it sure does make sitting in that awkward moment in a social interaction a lot more bearable. You know, that moment where no one in the group has anything left to say, and you desperately want to yell at all of them to just say something. Being high makes that hilarious and not torture.
Yo. It's Ellevan from Anger Town. This plant just helped me chill out. Found focus. Found confidence. All of a sudden I was productive. Less protective. More progressive. Yeah, we talk about stuff like I'm a next sommelier. But this is about a medicine, baby. We wish everyone a mindful life. It's been a helpful tool for us. And whatever the route to peace, it's each individual's journey. And the more we communicate, maybe we can all help each other out. Love and light. Welcome to Disciplined Stoners Podcast with your host Ellevan.
And my name is Winnie.
And we are the gateway drug to mindfulness. And that's Ralph. Bro, what you know about a couple levels up when I move and I go.
One day we're gonna do a collage of all the times like a brilliant person just said like it's medicine.
Cannabis is a gift from Mother Earth.
Cannabis helped to heal me. Those natural medicines that we use to help to heal us. And of course, they have this euphoric effect, or can.
It's an alternate natural way of healing. And I just think it's so beneficial, and there's so many good properties to weed.
I mean, that's the only difference in my life is I've added cannabis. The amount I've changed and the way our family has evolved and our relationships with my adult sons and everything, like just all through cannabis it's been amazing.
It's part of my life. Like you said, you really can't separate me and the cannabis plant. I use it medically.
Yes.
I have fibromyalgia, diagnosed with fibro very, very young, and I use cannabis to treat my fibro very effectively.
It was through an event that caused her major anxiety that I got her to take a few puffs.
Yeah.
And it helped.
Yeah.
Right? So, you know, from being up here to being able to cope.
You know, we've got naturopathic medicine and natural health products that rely on hundreds of years of traditional use.
Yes.
Which, you know, both cannabis and mushrooms technically fall under.
Yes.
If you can keep it at that sweet spot and it's in a healthy way, I feel like that's
it's medicine.
Yeah, I think
it's medicine.
You have to check in with your life and be like,
medicinal.
I felt like it complemented my personality.
Yeah.
Almost.
Good answer.
It's okay to use cannabis as their medicine. Mm-hmm. They no longer deserve to be in classrooms and hear that they're using drugs and they're bad, when this is medicine that is saving their lives.
Yes.
I mean, I would never put anything on the market that I wouldn't give to my mom or my grandfather.
Those strains are fantastic for pain management, nausea. This helps with pain management.
And I feel fantastic. Like I feel great. Do I attribute it to cannabis and cannabis oil? Absolutely, I do.
Relationship to cannabis right now is beautiful, growing, most probably everlasting.
I think this is medicine.
Dude, 120%.
I've got ADD, and I'd use cannabis to help kind of focus me in and kind of turn things off. Like, it very much is medicine.
It was medicinal for me. It was like taking a medicine because that's how it worked.
How long? How long? Everybody together. Here we go.